and I suppose for me, it was a really positive thing to see that pilot unfold. Don't take my word for it, however. I always think that actually what we should do is get people who actually have to do this job to unpack some of their experience, and I'm really pleased that people from We Care are on the webinar and are willing to show us some of their experiences. I would say that actually the provision of advice and information is actually fundamental to the proper functioning of an HIA. And although we might think that people don't want to move in later life, if they don't have the knowledge on what is available to them, if they can't see around the next corner and are forced to move because of some catastrophic health change, that is usually a worse outcome than the ones who have been able to think about it earlier and have actually been able to make positive choices, even where those positive choices are to adapt and stay in their own home. So I'd like to introduce Michael Stacey, who was the caseworker in the Weekend Repair pilot, and he'll introduce his own project. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Francis. Yes, I was involved in the pilot in Bristol, and We Care Home Improvements has carried on with we've got some other funding now to carry this work on. And in a minute, we're going to show a short film of what we consider a good success story. And before we do show the film, I just wanted to give you a bit of an overview that the lady concerned was referred to us through a social worker. She was living in her own occupier, she owned the flat. It was a first floor flat. Sadly, she'd had a stroke, and she'd also got sadly, a life-limiting condition. So, but the crux of this is, and reiterate what Francis said, it's, if the person can decide that moving is in their best interest, I consider we're 3/4 the way there, because that, to me, is the biggest obstacle. Anyway, this lady was referred to us via a social worker through her sister, who lived in near London, and then we picked it up from there. And the story goes that we identified somewhere for her, and then we worked with this particular extra care housing provider in Bristol to not just go to the first place that came available, wait for something that was more suitable for her. So I think we're just going to show a short film of this lady and to introduce her, and just to give you a bit of an overview of where she came from and where she is now, how it's improved her health and well-being. So cue video. I first met Lee when I came to visit her in the flat that's behind me. She was in a first floor flat, and that's where this story starts. You haven't got a driving license, haven't you? Or a passport?
No, I got.
Did you have a bus pass? You had a bus. Did you have a bus pass or not?
Yeah, I got buses and a passport.
You have got them. Well done. I can fill in the rest, I think. And this is where Lee has her lunch. Liver and bacon's on the menu today, I understand. This is my question really, how has life changed for you since you moved to St Monica Trust?
So there's less stress.
Yeah.
The bills coming in, I don't know who to help.
No.
For me to help me pay my bills, not because of monetary prospect. It's a prospect of leaving the flat, go to the post office, pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that no more after my BRI visit.
Yeah.
So it's helped all that, the stress of practical help like that.
Yeah, because
bills.
all the rent you pay here is for all your
Yeah.
electric, gas, telephone, water, everything, isn't it? So everything's included in
Yeah.
the rental price. Yeah.
And because of the hot lunch here,
Yeah.
it's less stressful because I don't have to go out every day and buy food, prepare food, cook food, pots and pans
No.
being washed.
Yeah. How do you find having a shower here as opposed to where you were before?
Well, I can have it any time I like.
Because where you were before, you had a carer, did you, to help you?
Yeah, just step on the bathboard.
Right. So here you've got a level access shower that you can.
I can have a shower when I like and by
Yeah.
myself.
Right.
Yeah, because that I got a shower chair as well,
Right.
and then it makes it, because I'm not steady on my feet.
No.
All I do in the morning when I wake up, turn the shower on, and I jump into a shower chair, which is which is safer than
Yeah.
boarding a bath sitting on the shower board.
Yeah. And it's nice that you can have a shower when you want it rather than having to wait for a carer to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were the stairs difficult in your flat for you to manage?
Yeah, difficult.
So now you've got flat and a lift to get down the stairs, so you don't have to use.
Because of my mum's situation.
Yeah.
I know my stairs at Easton. In time, those stairs will hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. And you feel safer now because you haven't got to use stairs. You've got a lift. Do you feel less isolated here? Have you made friends here?
Yeah, lots of friends.
Yeah. How's that helped you? Has that helped you a lot?
It has.
Yeah. And the friends you've made are through when you all have lunch together?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel there's more support here for you if you needed it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So everything is here for you. Do you feel safer here as well?
Yes. Because where I used to live in Easton, I was the only disabled person around the complex.
Right.
The private complex.
Yeah. Do you feel safe here and there's more staff around and other people?
Whenever I'm ill, I phone up care and support, and they'll judge if I need a doctor or not, or an ambulance.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Do you think your family feel more relaxed about, they're not less worried about you now since you moved here?
Yeah, because at Easter, my sister used to phone me once in the morning, and the same day, once at night, 2 phone calls a day. Now she only phones me once a day or at night, once at night.
Right, brilliant. Okay, that's great. And do you get a chance to go out shopping from here where you are now?
Right here, I catch the Wednesday bus to Waitrose.
And St Monica organise that, do they, for you?
I get on the St Monica's Trust minibus.
Lovely.
And they take us to Waitrose. I've got 1 hour waitress pushing a trolley.
Right, and then you've got all the rest of the food that you need for the rest of the week from Waitrose, and
Yeah.
you wanted, or you realised that you had to move, didn't you?
Mm.
You realised it. A lot of people put a barrier up and say, "Oh no, I'm not moving. I've lived here for so long."
Thanks, Michael. I was just putting in the chat, actually. I'd love to have a Wednesday bus to Waitrose. I actually know that Waitrose she goes to. So I live in Bristol, so I know St Monic as well, and it is a fabulous place.
Can I just put a bit of a caveat on the whole that case, though, Francis? That you know, one of the things that enabled her to move so quickly was that she was lucky enough to have some savings to be able to move to the new property before she'd sold the flat. We've now helped to sell the flat.
So I wasn't going to let you get away without unpacking some of this stuff. So I was going to ask you, what are the actual practicalities as a caseworker delivering move on? What do you do? So you begin, because it must be a really difficult conversation to start having. And actually, do you give people time to think? Do you leave people with options? Do you go and visit them? Once they make the decision, do you help them move? Do you help them pay? Do you help to sort out the utilities? The moving people, all that sort of stuff.
Yes, I mean the whole we're finding that people that probably haven't got any family or local support, so they are, or maybe family overseas and things, haven't got hands on. So we are finding that when we're doing this, we are doing the whole thing from, you know, I always go to meet the people in their own home. I think that's important. We then, if they just, you know, I think the biggest barrier, as far as I'm concerned, will always be the person themselves. Once they've, you know, the biggest successes we've had are the people that have agreed to, or want to move. Really, want to move is more than agreed to. But we, you know, I think it's always something that you could sow a few seeds. If someone isn't overly keen or has certain reservations, we can take them to show potential properties that may be available to them, and take it from there. But we would do the whole thing from getting, we always get, so make sure we're very impartial. We get 3 estate agent valuations, let the client go back to the client, say these are the valuations, and the same, we engage solicitors, clearance of the house if needed before it was sold, depending on which way round they were doing it. And also we're able to, on the sort of the other end of the spectrum, really, within the people that are mainly in social or private rented, that if they are unable to afford the cost of moving, even though they've been given a, you know, we've had a couple of cases recently where a couple were given an extra care scheme place, but they just could not afford the moving costs. So we approached a local charity that normally don't fund this sort of thing, and just said to them, well, you know, you're happy to buy a new carpet for these people to when they move into their place, but if they can't move into their place, you know, that new carpet won't be needed, and they're not going to gain from their move on place. So, you know, we're trying to, you know, we are encompassing people from right along the spectrum. People that are saying, I'm helping a person at the moment who's went from hospital, just did not want to go back to his house, and he is in an extra care scheme that he's funding, but we're helping him sell the property. So, you know, that, and he'll end up with you know, quite a lot of money at some stage, and then we've got to, obviously we're not going to get involved in that, but we need to make sure that he's sorted and protected. So, you know, and then it goes right from that end of the spectrum to someone who just hasn't got £500 to move. So yeah.
I'll come to some of the funding issues later, and I hope that Kevin will make some comments about funding as well. There are two issues to the funding. One is the funding for the person moving on, both in terms of the services, the move-on costs, the conveyancing costs, selling the house, buying a house, stamp duty, all that sort of stuff. And then secondly, there's your pay, which is that presumably you don't work for free, and actually it must be difficult to sustain your activities if you have no visibility about how long these processes will take. So I'll hope to unpack some of that in the course of this webinar. There was a question in the chat from Martin, another honourable Bristolian, asking whether family influence was important in the decision-making process to move. Did you get support from family members? Was it required? What was your experience in that?
As I said, most of the people that I've dealt with haven't been local. So the one in the video, the sister she just had one sister, and she's been very supportive of the whole thing because she couldn't. It was during COVID, and she couldn't come down at all. And as Lee said in the video, you know, it's made a big difference to her because she now phones her once a day rather than morning and night. So. But primarily, I would say that most of the people I'm dealing with have not got any family that have, but the ones that we have done, they've been supportive. I mean, I think, you know, they realise that, you know, I'd like to think that most people think the best in the parents or whatever its best interest is to move somewhere more safe, secure, and less worry for them, because we've had this before when I've had sort of son-in-laws saying, "Oh, it's brilliant. Thanks ever so much, Michael. I can now go on a holiday because I haven't got to wait for my mother-in-law to ring me to change a light bulb because she's gone somewhere else." So, you know, it goes down to silly things like that. Yeah. But knowing that their loved one is safe and secure where they are. So it really does, yeah, covers a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you, Michael.